How can you claim that someone's transphobic for wanting to speak up about things like women being sexually assaulted in prisons or being sexually assaulted in homeless shelters? Like, how can you just try to shut people down and say, no, you're transphobic? Phobia is a fear, an irrational fear of something. We are not in fear of you.
Trans rights are human rights. We will not be silent. We are not afraid.
Hate speech isn't free! Hate speech isn't free!
Well, yourself, ma'am, are you here for the protest or?
No.
No? Oh, okay then. Are you attending the Meghan Murphy? Oh, okay then. What do you make of this protest out here then?
Well, I understand where they're coming from, but also, like, women have the right to talk about their own rights and how these laws impact people. So I speak about prison, and we have a lot of offenders in women's institutions, and they're sexually assaulting and harassing the women inside. And
That's the naturally born women are getting assaulted by the trans woman. Okay then.
so a lady actually just filed a grievance from CSC about her sexual harassment inside Grand Valley. There's also 2 police reports with the RCMP out of Grand Valley. 1 female was taken to the hospital to be assessed. So there's an issue, and we should be discussing it, but it shouldn't be a protest. It should be both sides coming together to figure out how we can work together to make things right.
And you know, I think the issue you're speaking of is extremely important. And I was always of the opinion or of the thought that public safety trumped all. And yet this seems to be a matter of political correctness, allowing this imbalance to occur at the disadvantage of naturally born women.
No, 100% so. Like, we can't deny the fact that with the passing of Bill C-16 that people aren't going to take advantage of it. And the Deputy Commissioner for Women has said, she's left her post now, I don't know who's covering, but 50% of the requests coming from male institutions are in fact convicted sex offenders with victim pools of women and children. Now they're being transferred into our female institutions where there are female and children. We have the mother-child program. We have children inside. So who's going to protect us if we don't speak out about it?
And you know, I'm really not trying to be flippant about this, but maybe one of the solutions, or it's worth discussing at least, is having like trans prisons. You know, I mean, we much like you see in the sporting world, trans women are going up against naturally born women, and they're wiping the floor. You know, maybe the solution there is a trans division. Why can't we have these discussions in a civil way without these people here saying that we're spewing hatred?
I think the exact same thing. I think we should have so that there's female only, male only, and then we'll have trans women and women if they want to go, trans men and men if they want to go. We should have the option and we should have the choice, and we need to consider safety of everybody, right? Like, it's not just trans people who are victims of crimes too. It's women and children, and there are so many people taking advantage of this. It's not to say that all trans are like these people that we're talking about, because they're not. I have a lot of friends who are trans and they're amazing people, but we're always going to have people that are taking advantage of it.
You know, the other thing, ma'am, I find perversely ironic here is that so many people here want to see this talk shut down, so they support censorship, they are against free speech, and yet I look around the world at those countries where free speech does not exist, and that is not a good thing for the disenfranchised and minority groups.
No, it's not at all. And when you were speaking about sports, like, we just have to look at Fallon Fox, for example, in boxing. It was literally lasted 1 round, 30 seconds, and Fox crushed the woman's skull. How is anybody okay with that? We need to discuss it. It needs to be talked about. It is not okay.
Do you find it remarkable? I find that Miss Murphy would have been, just 5-10 years ago, the left would have championed a feminist like this. Now she's being vilified. Is there, I don't know, is there some hierarchy of human rights where right now trans people occupy the top of the pinnacle?
I find that a lot of people don't want to discuss anything. They're afraid of being sued for discrimination, so nobody wants to speak out. And it seems like the bigger voices right now are the trans community. And in fact, I've seen a lot of hateful things from them towards women, like just passing down the street and the signs like "No turfs on our turf." Like, how can you claim that someone's transphobic for wanting to speak up about things like women being sexually assaulted in prisons or being sexually assaulted in homeless shelters? Like, how can you just try to shut people down and say, no, you're transphobic? Phobia is a fear, an irrational fear of something. We are not in fear of you.
So that's some more irony, I think, that you've brought up, ma'am, the fact that transphobia is bad, but misogyny, well, not so bad maybe.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm mind blown at what's happening. I feel like there's just a war. It's like one side against the other, and nobody wants to come together and discuss how we can make things work. It's just, let's shut down this part, and nothing's being accomplished.
And you know, like you said, we're not trying to paint all trans people with the same brush, but at the same time, there are bad people. There are con artists. I point to Jonathan, aka Jessica Yaniv in Vancouver. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this person. And surely this is not a glowing example of somebody that represents the trans community. I mean, my goodness, this was someone that preyed upon immigrant woman to get his male genitalia waxed, something they did not want to do, something they weren't trained to do, and he gamed the system. It took them to the BC Human Rights Tribunal. What's wrong with this picture?
Honestly, I was mind blown when I first read about it. I could not even believe it, and I'm happy with the verdict, because that would have just been like huge if they would have ruled in the other way. Like, it is literally sexual assault. Like, no woman should be forced to touch any male genitalia, whether you identify as female or not.
Say, folks, do you like the kind of hard-hitting journalism we strive to bring you here at Rebel News? Well, I can tell you one thing, unlike so many members of the media party, we don't receive a single nickel in government funding, nor would we take it if it were offered. We depend on you, our viewers, for our support, so if you can kindly go to donations.rebelnews.com, that's donations.rebelnews.com, and make a contribution, we would most appreciate it.